Monk continues to get nerfed, but is still strong despite that. Most hunts that will require to have higher levels on other vocations are possible with a monk early on. So if you're looking for options to hunt a level 150 plus monk, this video is a compilation of all the spawns I think are worth hunting. Keep in mind the character use has the skills of over 82 fist base, which turns to around 102 with all the bonuses applied, magic level 34 plus, tier 3 imbuements, and was virtue swapping on most hunts. Most of the recordings were before the nerf to Harmony Virtue, and nowadays virtue swapping is less effective, but it will become relevant back again, I'm sure of that. With that said, you should get these results using Virtue of Justice. Also, I got around level 145 right before the double started, and I grinded hard past the reference level of this video, so I ended up trying most spawns after the double at around level 170 plus. With that said, let's begin with two spawns I think are doable at level 130. First one, I was planning on trying out, but because one creature got boosted, it became even better. This is the Other World of Khazad-dûm. The spawn is part of the Heart of Destruction questline. The main area, also known as the Void, is accessed through Ankh, Svar, or Sao. But besides these three, there is two smaller versions that are found in Nedron or Khazad-dûm. They are not always active and also have a limited duration of around 1 hour I believe, so it's not a common hunting ground. But sometimes all it takes is a boosted creature bonus or some praise to give a chance to some unpopular spawns. And for me, the raw experience was slightly over the 1.3kk. Keep in mind the boosted creature does not affect raw XP, and only the loot will be misleading in this recording. With that said, it's a good spawn to hunt for bestiary at the very least. Next up is the Other Worms of Threfia. This spawn located to the west of Darasha is one of my favorite spawns for knights, and is also pretty good for paladins, and so I expected it to go pretty good with a monk. But for once, I actually did worse on a monk than on my EK and RP, although both were high skill characters, with an experience of around the 1.4kk raw. I assumed this was due to worms running in low HP, and I hunted further to unlock Fatal Hole and try with it, but XP ended up being roughly the same, so a bit disappointed about that, but it is still a spawn that is almost always available, and can be really good with a worm XP prey. Additionally, with the monk release, the Elder Worms got a rare drop added to them, the Legs of Wisdom, which I was able to loot and sell for over 250k, but even without it, I was getting over 100k of profit the hour. Moving on to another unpopular place, the Diblin Library. This one is located in Grey Island, and requires a quick access quest to unlock it, but also is part of a world event and could be closed off for access, since it requires to be at the stage 2. Anyways, most servers do have it open and you can try it yourself. For me, the experience was around the 1.6kk raw, but keep in mind, it was slightly hard to hunt, so I will come at level 150 for this. There is a lot of creatures, so you can get up to 100 charm points if you want to. And there is a very low chance of looting a foxtail, which is very expensive item to taint the manta ray. But even with that, I was able to cover my supplies. Next up, yet again another even more uncommon spawn, the Catacombs of Oramon, the Golem's version. This is available to anyone that gets 50 voting points in the Oramon questline. However, because of the dynamic of the voting system, players get to choose which creatures takes over the Catacombs. Most servers will have the Wrath version, which is a pretty good team hunt spawn and for solo paladins, but in some rare cases you can find this Golem version, which I got to try it out. Despite the spawn being massive in size, you want to focus on mostly the middle area, so I was doing a lap like this. And hunting like that, my experience was over the 1.6kk raw. It's not an easy hunt to do, so you gotta be careful, especially when glued golems get close in range. In terms of profit, I was breaking even, but there is also a very rare chance for a team key drop for the war golems, which is an expensive mount item. Without that, there is at least potential for a bit of profit from unrusting armors, but that's about it. And speaking of glued golems, moving on to the next spawn that has more of them here in Oramon, the Glued Tower. This is a classic of Oramon that after getting nerfed in the infamous balancing project of 2019, it never got hunted again. But on the balancing update of 2024, the main creatures here got some XP back, and with that my first hunt was a level 142, and with an experience of almost 1.6kk raw. But with a friend of mine doing over 1.9kk before the nerfs, I knew it could still go up higher, so trying it out again, at 175 my experience was over the 1.9kk. And in this case, it's not so much the level difference, but rather getting used to the spawn, which does not have a lot of room to kite, so gotta be careful with that. Moving on to more unpopular spawns, but in this case, one most people had never hunted, the Secret Grounds. This spawn is located in Oramon, and it does require doing some missions to get access, which is probably why people don't bother with it. Additionally, there is 3 different areas, all massive in size, that are unlocked further in the questline, So I've been meaning to try it out with more dedication to come up with labs for a video, and I have now tried them all, starting at an experience of 1.7kk raw to over 2.1kk by the end. So please consider subscribing if you want to get that dedicated video soon. Place or Among West. This one got second place in my video for where to hunt at level 100. Back then the experience was already over the 1.7kk, and to be expected with more levels and the ability to trap myself safely more often, the XP went up to over the 2kk. With this spawn being one I probably have hunted the most since it does have a lot of creatures to get bestiary on, and it is also a good source of botting points for the Oramon quest. However, since it can be hunted by any vocation, it is a bit contested. Also, it's wasteful even with looting most creatures. Next up on number 3, the Barkless Cults. This spawn located in Abandoned, part of the Cults of Tibia questline, has been almost an EK exclusive spawn, but is also just as good for monks. It can be hunted at lower levels. Personally, the lowest I recommend is 130, but even at over 150, it can still be dangerous. Every time you are at the north side of the spawn where the fanatics are, there is going to be potential for some nasty combos. Trust me on that. Always be careful and mindful under damage and stay at a safe distance. Also, this is the spawn I started at around level 140 during the double XP and grinded to over 170 in that weekend exclusively here. At the start, my experience was of around 1.8kk, but by eliminating the northeast part of the cave, it went to over 2kk, and by the end, my highest XP was around 2.3kk, coming at a heavy cost of waste since they drop nothing and are very demanding in potions. Moving on to the spawn that continues to be on top of the list, the Ravenous Lava Lurkers. This one is located in Castledon and is one of the most contested spawns in the game, despite giving absolutely no loot, but because their HP to XP ratio is so good, they are high experience for all vocations, so their demand is very high on any server, perhaps being the most contested spawn. At level 120, I was doing around the 2kk raw XP, and by level 170, I was doing over 2.3kk. Which is close to the peak XP possible in the spawn. Since it is quite small, it won't go much higher than that. But one that can go much higher, especially with levels, is the Grims of Yalahar. This spawn located in Yalahar was a very old spawn for paladins, but after the balancing project of 2024, it became a pretty decent hunt. And now for monks, it has become likely the best spawn possible. This is because they are weak to energy, so if you have a Darshaku, you can do really well here. Although it is dangerous and could be hunted at around level 130, I would recommend 150, and even then, there is risk of dying. This one became high on demand because of monks nowadays, and I was only able to get it after the double ended, so my first hunt was at level 170 with an experience of over the 2.7kk, which should be doable at level 150 or so, and potentially higher than that. I know getting more comfortable with the spawn and more levels on top of that can boost the experience much higher, since most monks I know hunt here exclusively, making high experience. And since they are mostly Green Reapers, you get a lot of value from praise. Lastly, in terms of loot, it's very much random. You can get lucky with drops and pay your supplies, or make decent profit. And in other hunts, it's just breaking even or losing money. Regardless, it is easily one of the best spawns to hunt. That is if you are able to get it. And with that said, that's all I got for this one. If you like the content, consider subscribing. I make Tibia content of all types and will continue to do so. Thank you for watching, and until the next one.